This material is part of our course Microeconomics. You can find more at professorpro.net. The current video belongs to Unit 1, Demand and Supply, and covers the class Shifts in Supply. The objective of this class is to address and answer the following questions. What can cause a shift in supply? Is a change in supply the same as a change in quantity supplied? Will producers sell a different amount of the product? And will producers sell at a different price? Let's start with the basics. Remember that the supply curve shows the correlation between price and quantity supplied of the product. As such, a change in price usually leads to a change in quantity supplied. We call this a movement along the supply curve. Let's go back to our orange juice example. Remember that when the price of this product is $2 per unit, firms want to sell 6 units of it per week. They want to sell this amount because of the profits they earn and because they have the capability to do so. At a constant price, if either their profitability or capability changes, the whole supply curve shifts. If, for example, a firm's profitability decreases, it still has the capacity to produce as much as before, but it won't want to sell as much. The firm will thus want to sell less orange juice if the price stays the same. The same could happen if its capability to produce orange juice were reduced, perhaps because one factory temporarily closed. In this case, the firm may want to sell as much as before, but it simply cannot produce enough to do so. The firm will thus be forced to sell less if the price stays the same. A shift in supply can be defined in the following 2 ways. First, a shift in supply is a change in desired production or quantity supplied when the price stays the same. Or second, a shift in supply is a change in willingness to sell, or the minimum price at which producers will sell when the quantity supplied stays the same. We focus on the first definition for these videos. A number of factors can lead to a shift in supply, such as a change in the cost of inputs of production, regulations and rules relevant to this product, technology, and profit expectations of this product, amongst other things. What is true for one firm is also applicable to the whole market. A general decrease in profitability or capability will lead to a decrease in the market's supply for that product. Note that not every single producer will necessarily decrease their supply. For those that do, they will likely not decrease their supply by the same amounts, but the total market supply will decrease. Similarly, a general increase in profitability or capability will lead to an increase in the market's supply of that product. Now, let's see how these concepts can be represented in graphs. We can see the difference between a movement along the supply curve and a shift of it when using the supply schedule. Remember that moving from row to row on the table shows a movement along the curve. If an economic event were to reduce the profitability I receive from selling a product or reduce my capability to produce it, I may now have the following schedule. Keep in mind that my quantity supplied has changed for all the prices shown here, except for $0, because quantity supplied cannot be negative. This is known as a decrease in supply. We can show the shift by first drawing the initial supply curve with quantity supplied before the change. We then draw the new points on the graph and link them together to find the new supply curve. Note that a shift of the supply curve to the left is called a decrease in supply. An increase in supply would arise if an economic event were to increase the profitability of selling a product or increase my capability to produce it. This may lead to the following schedule. Again, keep in mind that my quantity supplied has changed for all the prices shown here. We can again show the shift by first drawing the initial supply curve. We then draw the new points and link them to find the new curve. Note that a shift of the supply to the right is called an increase in supply. Remember that we are describing producers' desire to sell a product. We are not necessarily describing their actual sales. In the next unit, we will see that producers might want to sell a product without being able to do so. Furthermore, a shift in supply will not necessarily lead to a change in the price of the product. Changes in price depend on both the demand and supply of that product. To conclude, let's review the questions that this class set out to answer. In this class, we saw that a shift in supply will arise if there is a change in quantity supplied caused by a factor other than a change in price of that product. A change in supply is shown by a shift of the whole supply curve, while a change in quantity supplied is shown by a change of one point of the curve. When there is a change in supply, producers may or may not sell a different amount of the product. The actual sales depend on both the demand and the supply of that product. Similarly, a change in supply may or may not lead to producers receiving a different price for a product. The actual price depends on both the demand and supply of that product. If you found this video helpful and want to see more, you can find the following examples. Thank you.